I got 9:02. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Start with Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Next I have is approval of today's agenda.
Lance will make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now is approval of minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for January 8th and 16th as presented.
I will second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is approval of claims for payment of 1/19/2024.
Lance, I make a motion to approve the claims for payments dated January 19th, 2024.
That one, yeah. Okay.
I'll second.
Yeah.
The 22nd.
Yep. Because we paid it. So Lance, I'll withdraw that motion and make a motion to approve the claims dated January 22nd, 2024.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is consideration to approve community sign grant for Nacho Daddy's Tacos.
Lance, we have a community betterment match grant application from Marco Balderas of Nacho Daddy's for a sign grant, and I'd make a motion to approve that sign grant as presented, not to exceed $500.
I will second. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is consideration to set time and date for public hearing of 911 essential purpose for radio infrastructure. This one is one where the 911 board has recommended this to us. We can set the time and date. We can refuse it. By refusing it, it allows them to go back and allows them to start applying for grants to help pay for this. But we would have to refuse it first for that to happen.
Okay. With that information, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to set a time and date of the public hearing for the 911 essential purpose for radio infrastructure for February 13th at 9 a.m. in the Hardin County Courthouse conference room.
I can second it. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
I have to make a motion to set a time and date for the discussion to call for a vote to allow Dave and Thomas to then pursue the grant funding. So kind of a roundabout way of I have to make a motion. So I'll call for the vote.
Roll call.
BJ,
No.
Lance,
No. Motion fails. They can work their process now. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, Thomas.
Next is consideration approved credit card approval for Iowa River's Edge trail usage for Steve Pence Eldora car with designated spending limit.
Okay. Lance, I'd make a motion to approve a credit card for both Steve Pence and Eldora car with a designated amount of $2,000. With the caveat that they both signed the credit card agreement policy with the county.
I'll second that. I'm going to open it for discussion, but I want to hear from our auditor and our treasurer that deal with this. You guys are fine with that?
You know, Beth, during our external audit, she, brought up the fact that there are so many credit cards out there, and now we're adding 2 more. It's for incidental expenses and a website expense. The website expense is why they want 2. I'm wondering, are they going to be using a credit card so much that they wouldn't only need 1, and it could be passed between the 2?
Michelle, did you have any comments? You never asked for any, I'm just asking.
I just feel like we just got dinged on having so many. I don't know what their uses are gonna, what they need them for, so I don't have really good statement to state, except for that we have too many now, and I don't know.
Can I comment? I'm on the board representative. Most of our expenses which come up, and it's come up with the website particularly so that we can manage that and conduct business. And it's happened where people have had to use their own personal funds to try to conduct business. So it's made it very difficult. And if it would help, we could only have one and pass it between the two. It's not necessary that we have, but Laura also is, both people, like I say, they're county employees themselves. And, we just felt too that we wanted to make sure that our expenses were noted. And then that way it was just simpler for us to be able to conduct business. So.
Okay. One card.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and suggest that we call for the vote and then consider a new motion.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Aye. Nay. Motion fails.
Okay, I'd make a motion to approve a single credit card for the Iowa Rivers Trail usage for Steve Pence with a designated spending limit of $2,000.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded, and then Steve, any discussion, then Steve could pass it back and forth.
Well, I prefer that, in proper management of the credit card, I could understand continuity of operations if, something would happen to Steve, but he needs to be the signatory on the account. And I think quality accounting practices, he needs to be the person that is on the billing statement and stuff. So,
yep.
He's also our treasurer.
Oh,
so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is consideration of approve the auditor's office to maintain first aid kit on the first floor of the courthouse.
Lance, I'll make a motion to approve that the auditor's office be the control entity for the first aid kit on the first floor of the courthouse.
I will second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Thomas?
Can I suggest you add the
Annex building.
annex building, because they don't have one at all?
Okay. Is that okay, Jolene?
Sure.
Okay.
That way,
So I'm leaving it.
that way we can have, they can, I think it's, what company that comes in, those company comes in that
Yeah.
takes care of it, but,
So
oh, good.
So the auditor is a controlled courthouse. That's why we left it there. But if the other entities want her to take it and you guys want to contact her, you can. I know Taylor, you have yours. Yeah, sheriff's office has his. But I know we're in a contract or we're not in a contract, but it is very expensive the way we're doing it right now.
Yeah, we were spending, Chandra did a spreadsheet, upwards towards $10,000 a year for 4 first aid kits. Delivery charges between the 4 on the same day were $21 per first aid kit. $10, she charges $10 to wipe down the outside of the first aid kits. So we think we can manage a lot less expensive.
And that's why we're here today. So if we want to add more, we sure can, but I would just soon have the auditor in control of that.
And we'll do it according to OSHA requirements.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I think you need to second it.
I did. I'll second. Any other discussion? Now hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is acknowledge receipt of compensation board recommendation.
So all we're doing is acknowledging that the compensation board met. They recommended 3% to the supervisors, the treasurer, the recorder, and the auditor, the sheriff at 7%, and 0% for the county attorney by request of the county attorney.
So the motion is,
To acknowledge the receipt of their recommendations.
I will second that. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Acknowledging doesn't mean we're approving it, it just means we're reading it. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is acknowledge proposal for adoption of zoning ordinance regarding nuisance properties located in city limits.
Taylor, thanks for coming in. And I just had talked to Daryl before we came in here. Do you want to give your overview and then
Sure,
Yeah.
I'm happy to, in the progeny of weird stuff I
come
bring
on up.
here.
Yeah, come on up, please.
So, and Teresa Lancaster, who's in charge of planning and zoning and code enforcement for Iowa Falls, is also here. And we've been working with nuisance properties in town, and we've identified north of 200 that, without further investigation, appear abandoned, which mean no utilities or dilapidated structure. There's a certain codification that meets those requirements. There happens to be, just buried in the code as usual, two alternative procedures. Normally for a city to take over one of these houses, they file something called a 657A 10B action, which you prove up certain things and the court awards you title. Basically, you say it's been abandoned for 6 consecutive months. It's not sealed from the elements, so rough windows, etc. They've been served notice to rehabilitate, they failed. This is the alternative procedure that involves tax sale certificates. And the codes, which I sent a letter for 46, 18A, and 19A, really create two different procedures. So you have your normal tax sale certificate sale in June. This allows a city, and this would be a countywide ordinance, so it's not exclusive to Iowa Falls, it has to be countywide, to certify prior to the tax sale that there are properties that are vacant, abandoned, and non-compliant with city code. You do that by something called a verified statement, essentially a fancy word for affidavit. Then at tax sale time, under 19B, what happens is the city is allowed to kind of pre-certify buyers that have entered into a rehabilitation agreement. Essentially, they pre-orchestrate somebody to bid on it and say, we're going to fix it and make it livable. So 19B requires that it be remodeled or updated so that it can be used as housing. 19A allows a city to essentially purchase it, abandoned, which is 6 months of continued no occupancy. They can purchase that tax sale certificate, no other bidders against them, so they get preference under both of these. And then they can do with it as they deem fit, whether it's demo, whether it's to later enter into somebody's rehabilitation agreement, or sell it to an adjoining property owner, something to that effect. And you're probably wondering, why the heck is this important? Well, what's important right now is we have expensive housing. I mean, you can go talk to Connie Mesh, she probably gets calls daily about how fast the appraisals have gone up on these houses, or the assessed values. There's a lack of housing. And quite frankly, these vacant abandoned houses don't generate a lot of property tax. And both at the city and the county level, and due to, I don't know, should we call it new math formulas? I don't represent a city that's not lost money on property tax. I'm not sure you can make money under the new, I think everybody has lost money across the board. This allows the cities to provide reasonable housing costs, and it allows everybody to maximize their revenues off those properties as far as property taxes go. So as far as developing small communities, which all of them are in Hardin County, I think this serves the public interest by fair priced housing, or lower valued housing, so not everybody can afford a new house. And on top of it, as long as somebody rehabilitates it, now you have you have an increase in property tax generation.
Right.
Which is allocated between cities and counties and EMS. I'm assuming to direct Daryl, if you choose to undertake this, to work together to draft some type of ordinance for later approval. I would ask that it happens before April 15th. Because the one timeline is May 15th. So that gives everybody the month to scramble. Just from the Iowa Falls perspective, we've noticed, so we have several of these that the city is seeking a judicial action to take title. And people have been short selling them before we can get to the end of the court action. And there is a big uptick in people willing to pay, $10,000 for this house that needs a lot of work, but they're legitimate contractors. And so far, I think everybody's on track for the 8 houses I know to have them completely remodeled, and then they'll hit, the tax rolls, 18 to 24 months later.
Right. Michelle, do you have any insight? Because as I spoke with Daryl and Jess Sheridan had called and asked, it's because she wanted to make sure this wasn't really a zoning issue, even though the word zoning is in a lot of it. It really comes down to making sure that, Michelle, you have the resources and mechanisms in place to help with the process.
Well, what I consider it is as a public nuisance tax sale.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, and I believe that we've already have some kind of policy that we can do a public nuisance.
Okay.
But I'd have to look back because I've only done one public nuisance since I've been treasurer since 2010.
Okay.
And those they never happened the way they were supposed to, so.
Yeah, so when I got your letter, Taylor, I saw it as putting properties with potential back on the tax rolls. While it's not gonna happen overnight.
Right.
That's one thing, but also, as you know, Teresa, you're hoping as we get some affordable housing, some entry-level housing. And it also, boosts the local economy, giving local contractors an ability to do work in Iowa Falls instead of going to Ames or Gilbert to do construction when they can do it in your own community. So, yeah, I would like to pursue this, Taylor, and I had that conversation with Daryl this morning.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's definitely something that we need to pursue and make sure we have an algorithm and process in place to make it successful going forward. But yeah, we're on the same page, Taylor.
Daryl, you're on board?
I want to visit with Taylor afterwards about this, but yeah, my concern was if we do this, how is that gonna make Michelle's job any easier or more difficult, or just, I want to, have her on board too.
That's right.
The downstream consequences or effects, we're expecting other people to kind of pick up, what we put in motion, so I just want to make sure.
Well, I'm all for it if it happens the way it's supposed to happen. If it's a public nuisance and I sell it and then nothing happens to it, we're right square back where we were before, so.
What's the process for making sure you have qualified bidders? Because I think that's the strongest point.
So
wouldn't you agree, Taylor, that I don't want ABC Affordable Contracting that, has never done any work to say we're interested, and then it just sits there and, like Michelle says, it just remains a nuisance. How do we make sure that we have reputable, bonded, insured people that want to do it? Is it also working with Deb and Mark Bushcamp to get good development agreements that if you get a local contractor that is interested in doing 3 homes in Iowa Falls back to back to back, that that it'll come to fruition?
I think there's 2 different answers to that question.
Okay.
So the first one is under 18A, the city can take over the tax sale certificate. You kind of force yourself to win as a city. I don't think it's a county problem then. The city has certain requirements and they certainly don't want to sit on vacant lots any longer than they have to. So I think that one, it goes to the city. Now, the alternative one is you have to submit a rehabilitation plan, which
Right.
takes some work on the front end, whether that's with Deb, whether that's with Mark, whether that's with Teresa or any other city manager, code enforcement officer.
Yep.
Michelle has to be presented, if I read the code correctly, with a rehabilitation plan, or there's not a public nuisance tax sale.
Okay.
Is there a time limit on these rehab plans?
Not directly in the statute, although I haven't done, how should I put this? Until I knew the supervisors were interesting, I wasn't gonna go down a rabbit hole. With all the
So then, in
research.
other words, somebody could buy it, say we're rehabilitating it and take 5 years.
I don't think that.
Generally, I think,
I think you're looking at a
Yeah.
year at max, because that would effectively, if you wait a full year. So tax sale is what, June 15th? June
well,
1st,
June, the third Monday of June.
third Monday of June. So you wait a full year, there goes 12 months. Now you have to wait till January till it's done for it to hit the tax rolls, and that's behind. So you're looking at an 18 to 24 month outlay from that. So the interest is to have it back completed as soon as humanly possible.
They don't take ownership immediately.
No, there's also
They're
the
just holding the
redemption
tax.
process.
Well, right, they're holding the certificate until
Right.
the
So you have
code
18
says that
months.
they can take it.
You have 18 months before you have a deed to it, and then you have, I mean, it's a long game. It's not a short slip turnaround type deal.
I'd have to look at that public nuisance. I haven't dove into it, for many, many years, but I think maybe the time limitation to get the deed is shorter.
Yeah, there's some nuances, and then I brought both code sections, so now they're kind of muddling in my head, but for the most part, it takes otherwise non-habitable properties and makes them habitable.
I know how that works.
So at the end of the day, I think it's best for the city, the county, livable houses, increased tax revenue. I don't see the downfall to it, and I think, obviously, just through preemption, the county's allowed to plug in holes that the state legislator either intentionally or unintentionally left.
Right.
So if you did put triggers in there, such as Michelle saying, okay, you have to, a year from when you take the deed, it either has to be certified. I mean, we need to look into those things, but I think we could put time constraints
Right,
in that.
and some quality control. Yeah.
I do know that there is a gentleman in Outfall Falls that just bought like 2 or 3 properties that were considered abandoned or whatever. And they did put limitations on him. He has to have the electricity and certain things on and going by a certain date.
And I mean, just because those are my lawsuits, I can say that's, I can speak a little bit to this. That's been a total change for Iowa Falls. Before, what you did is you sued, you got title, you ripped it down, you paid $15,000 for asbestos remediation, and then you have dirt and sometimes some weeds. And now we have people coming in saying, we'll buy this house before the conclusion of the lawsuit, rehabilitate it, and the sale prices are, between $10,000 and $45,000, which is, you can do a lot of work and still have a sub-$100,000 house.
Yeah, I'd agree. No, there's a lot of good bones left.
What about the person that owns the property? No, granted, they've abandoned, when you say abandoned, are you saying nobody owns it? Nobody's doing anything with it?
So abandoned is a legal term, which means it's been vacant or unoccupied for 6 consecutive months. And so effectively, you're saying they have just walked away from it.
Okay,
But they'll always have the opportunity to redeem.
So this does not, so you're buying the tax sale certificate, and there's still an extended period of time where they can basically pay all the unpaid taxes, penalty, interest, things like that, and get their property back.
okay, just making clear on that one.
So there is relief if they wanted.
Right. It's not an immediate, taking by
Right.
city government. There is ample notices that have to be sent out before you get a deed. I think at least 2 off the top of my head, maybe 3. It's, if you lose your property to tax sale, you either are not getting your mail or you don't care. I mean, you almost have to try to not get notified.
Okay, and Michelle, did you say you think we have a policy in place already?
I thought we had a policy that said that we could do, the I lost my train of thought.
And my hope was when I sent you the letter, your response would be, hey, dummy, we already have this, but.
And not
I think
to
we need
my-
to review the policy that we currently
Let's make
have.
sure and make sure there's congruency.
City, like, if it, or if it's a whole,
Right,
I can't remember.
The
So
way
we-
I read it and the couple that I've kind of, I don't know, model nuisances, which are from larger towns, they do it as a county,
As a county ordinance.
just so that there's no even perceived favoritism.
And I'm 90% sure that that's what we have, but like I said, it's been 24 years ago. I think that we had them, so.
and it may not be correct to today's laws either. So I think it'd be good to look at those, review
And
them.
it's the city's responsibility to do the agreement between the parties and then bring those properties, if they have delinquent tax, to my attention. And then I publish them as,
Nuisance sale.
nuisance sale, public nuisance sale. It's a certain section. Just like I have a regular tax sale, I have a public bidder sale, and then I'll have a nuisance tax sale.
Okay,
It's published in the paper, so that way it's transparent.
okay. Well, moving forward,
Thank you, Taylor. Appreciate it. Yep.
nope, thanks a lot. You want to direct Daryl to look at this?
Yeah, Daryl will take care of it.
Okay, work on it. Next I have is change of status.
I had one change of status at the Hardin County Sheriff's Office. We're moving Brandy Lawrence from part-time to full-time at a rate of $21.03 an hour.
It's been moved, I'll second, it's been moved and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye, motion carries, other business.
I have nothing, Lance.
Yeah, we got freezing rain, possible freezing rain coming in. Try to
You're so
say,
excited, Taylor.
public comments, and do we have any public comments?
No.
No public comments, I can ask for adjournment.
I would move to adjourn.
I'll second, it's been moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries for adjourn.